Rappin with ReefBum is sponsored by Polo Reef, Champion Lighting and Supply, and ReefnBid.
Hey, welcome back to the show. My name is Keith, and there is my co-host Dong. How you doing there tonight, Dong?
Very good, very good.
You got some new toys to show off there in terms of a laptop and a new microphone. So you are you are really you are styling there in terms of the audio and the video now. So I think
gear it up. Well, look at the microphone. I don't know how to disable the RGB, but that's what I get.
Yeah. So what is that? Why is that glowing?
Yeah, because supposed to be a gaming microphone, and this supposed to be a perk. But then there's no way to disable it. So, well, whatever it is, I can use it as a lantern.
Yeah, in case things get dark in the house there, right?
Definitely.
Dual-purpose device there. So,
yep.
Well, welcome everybody. Appreciate you tuning in again tonight for our show. And Dong and I are really excited about the show tonight. We've got Kenny Wayne. He's been on before. The owner of High Tide Aquatics in Oakland, California. Ali Atapour, who owns Amazing Aquariums and Reefs in Orange, California. He's been on before as well. And Cris Capp, owner of Aquatic Art in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. He too has been on the show. And we are going to discuss the role of the local fish store in today's reef keeping ecosystem. But before we bring them on, I want to thank the sponsors of the show. Appreciate them and their support. Polo Reef. Make sure to check out Polo Reef's latest YouTube video. From a giant clam delivery with acclimation and care tips, custom GFO sediment filters, and 1/2 ton mystery tank that arrives at Polo Reef and has the team buzzing. Make sure to subscribe to their YouTube channel at Polo Reef for video drop notifications. Champion Lighting and Supply. I think I saw Todd in the chat. Flow is very important, as usual. For keeping corals happy in a reef, growing corals can block flow from wave makers and create dead spots. That's about to change. The ocean sea wave will oscillate any wave maker power in your aquarium from 0 to 180 degrees at an adjustable speed. This creates natural dynamic flow patterns, reduces dead spots, and kicks up detritus. The ocean sea wave is available exclusively through Champion Lighting and Supply. Visit championlighting.com for more information. And finally, ReefnBid. ReefnBid will be at Reefapalooza, New York, booth number 317. Come meet the team behind the scenes and don't miss the live auction featuring Reefapalooza exclusive goodies. The only way to participate and win is to attend the show. All right, let me bring on our guests. We've got Ali, we've got Kenny, and we've got Chris. What's happening there, fellas?
What up?
How are you?
Good to see you, gentlemen.
Very good.
Back on the show. You were all on as individual guests over the years. Now we're going to have a nice general conversation. I think this is going to be a really cool conversation because what I was saying to you guys before we went live on the air is that it's just so cool to have a local fish store that you can lean on for knowledge and to just kind of go and hang out and talk reef with people and with the people that are running the stores. And you guys really just do one hell of a job. You're spread across the country. So I think this is a great panel to have to talk about, what you guys are facing in terms of challenges out there and what you've done to, make your businesses successful and how people can connect more with their local fish store, in their area. So I thank you for coming back on the show and coming together as a group to chat with us.
Thanks for having us.
So I mentioned challenges, and maybe that's a good place to start in terms of the challenges that you guys face as local fish stores. There's a lot of things out there that can inhibit or make it tough to do business in today's environment. So I don't know who wants to kind of like start with the challenges you guys have been facing, but maybe talk about those challenges, your biggest challenges, and how you've kind of like tried to adapt the business to get around those challenges.
Well, definitely.
I guess you go ahead, Chris. Well, I was just gonna say the biggest challenge is obviously we're dealing with sensitive livestock. We're not selling shoes. We're not Al Bundy. We're dealing with animals, and we have to keep them super healthy. And we're dealing with corals that we have to grow, sensitive animals. So we have to do all that and run a business. So this ain't an easy thing to do. That's number one as far as difficulty or challenges goes. And go ahead. Now you go, Chris.
Yeah, that is and online influence. As a local fish store, we fight that in a lot of different ways, not only on the livestock but the dry goods as well. So that's a big challenge. But just like Ali said, it's not like my neighbor sells surfboards. He can sell one, he can put them up on the shelf, but he doesn't have to care for them continuously like we do. But I say online and the sensitive items that we have here.
Yeah, same. The livestock, caring for all this stuff, the overhead that goes into that, the water bill, the PG&E, that gets up there. And then when the economy shifts, like it's been doing lately, like we slow down because this is a luxury hobby. It's not a necessity per se, so when economy slows down, this industry slows down because people don't want to spend that extra leisurely money to get fancy high-end sticks.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a hobby that people have a lot of passion for, and I think that is interesting because I wonder what percentage of the hobbyists actually are the ones that just kind of, and I might be one of them in terms of what's going on with the economy. Does that really impact me in terms of if there's like a coral out there that is something that I would really want to to add? I guess you're not going to go crazy on the high end stuff. I mean, is that something that you guys have seen in terms of maybe kind of staying away from offering the high end pricey corals and sticking to more like the bread and butter stuff that people can have more easy success with?
It really depends on who comes in the door. I mean, I think you have to have a good selection of both for everybody that comes in. And a lot of the high-end stuff you can propagate yourself, which obviously becomes much more lucrative if you can, but definitely have to have both. But I have noticed that with, usually when you get a tax return season, you get, some pretty good tank sales. And it was much lighter this year for me anyway. I could definitely feel it. And so I kind of, maybe you're getting 20-gallon nanos, but not the 180s that we used to get in the past.
Yeah, I think the economy definitely has quite a big impact, actually. So I think that ours, in this hobby, our overhead is really, really high. Probably some of the highest overhead business for small business, right? The electricity, the effort to take care of the coral.
Plus, the cost of the livestock that we order in has gone up as well. So you getting hit on that side, and then we have an environment that we have to keep too. So ACs and there's a lot. There's a long list that's involved.
So yeah, I mean that there's just a lot of stuff. I mean, and how do you guys deal with bringing in livestock, keeping it alive, losses, that sort of thing? It's got to be a very you've got to all be good reefers, right? I mean, you got to be good reef keepers, and you've got to be able to bring in stuff and a wide variety of stuff, and be able to acclimate the corals in a bunch of different systems and have them thrive in your system before they can be put up for sale. So, I mean, that could be tough. I mean, how many of you guys actually bring in, stuff that you import? Are you pretty much all getting corals locally, or snagging some stuff online from another vendor just to kind of bring in a name call to be able to propagate it? I mean, is that kind of like the game right now?
I don't bring in imports very often. I did in a few years back, but I mean the loss rate on imported acros as colonies is kind of wild, man. There's so many good vendors out there that are aquaculture corals and selling conditioned frags, and there's one of them watching right now. So it's like, I don't know. I don't really do it very often at all. I'm sure these guys might.
Well, you know what's nice is the longer you have the shop and you have a good initial supply of stuff, the longer you have the store, the more you have, you could propagate from your original mother colonies when you're dealing with some of these high-end stuff. So that's really nice. And also, you're also going to develop relationships with a lot of your own customers, and they'll be bringing in healthy, conditioned stuff. Obviously, trusted customers, people that you know, and you would also put those pieces through proper quarantine measures if needed. But I would say most of my stuff, I do not import, but I do cherry pick from a bunch of these local suppliers. Route 66 Marin is one of them. Eric over there, who you should probably have on your show one of these days too, Keith. He'll be great. But yeah, just some of these local people I get to handpick from, which is really nice. But I think I was mentioning this on the last podcast. Corals are coming in from everywhere now, so doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to be in California. You could get nice, healthy corals and beautiful exotic or uncommon corals from a lot of different vendors now, or importers and wholesalers. But yeah, just being able to cut from your own supply, that's always awesome, and it helps so much with overhead. So yeah.
No, I totally agree. And getting that customer base, because we can get frog spawn. If I need some rainbow bubble tips, I can make some calls and I'll get 50 in here by this weekend, and just by building that relationship with customers, you can get a lot of the stuff that you need. And a lot of it is stuff like GSP or Xenia, and they're like, it's growing outside my tank. Bring it in, because we have a new person coming, that just started the hobby, and that's a great coral to get them started on that. The other thing, if you have maintenance, we have maintenance accounts where we'll just go and cut because we need to do that as well, and then we'll give our customers some of that credit back. And there's been a lot of times where we just put we'll put a torch colony in and say it's free of charge, you just let me cut it, and then we have a stream of torch or whatever coming back in because of the maintenance account. So it makes it nice that way too.
So getting back to some of the challenges. I mean, what do you guys hear most often in terms of people's excuse for not leaning on a local fish store or buying from you guys corals? Maybe let's exclude dry goods at this point in time. But is the online marketplace still a major threat to your business, or do you think there is a tide, so to speak, that has turned a little bit?
The collectors are the collectors. If I'm a collector, I'm in a bunch of different hobbies, not just reefing, but if I'm a collector and I want something, I'm going to go through every source to find that. And if, that's just part of it. And it's totally cool if customers are collectors and they're hunting for something to find it. Purple Monster, for example, it's not an easy acro to find these days. You're going to go hunting for that thing. That's I don't see anything like that as a threat, because collectors they're collectors. But for the bread and butter people, the newer hobbyists, those guys, they come in, you treat them right, you help them set up a tank properly, they're usually loyal to you. And if they're not, it's still all good. When I was a hobbyist, this was a treasure hunt. I had fun going to other places and checking out what was available. It was all part of the hobby. But but for the most part, if you have a good inventory and good supply and healthy stuff, and I really pride myself on having established pieces. It's not just a piece that's been there for like 3-4 weeks. I have healthy established pieces that are proven they're not going to have bacterial issues, they're not going to have bugs or pests, they're just going to be healthy pieces. And usually people, maybe not when they're brand new, but eventually they recognize that, and then they're going to come to you for that kind of stuff. So it's really important to keep your stuff healthy, conditioned, and pest free.
Yeah, and to your point, Keith, is that I do think that it has come back to local fish stores to a certain degree, because I think there's a lot, there's so many vendors out there. There's some really good ones and there's some really poor ones. And so I hear probably every weekend that people go and they buy something online and then they get it and it doesn't look like a picture. It's not, it's not as big as it looked like in the picture or whatever. And so I think a lot of people do like to come in, as long as you have a good enough selection of what they're looking for, then they'll come in and they appreciate seeing it in person, see how healthy it is. And so I think it has come back a little bit to local fish stores, as long as they're providing what the customer is looking for.
Yeah, and back to what Ollie said is I get a lot of beginners in here. Like, even people doing research online, they're going to end up coming to a LFS at some point to either make a tank purchase, do that stuff after they've maybe done a little bit of research on the internet. And then they come in and they're telling you this stuff that they learned, and you're like, throw all that stuff out the window, and you're just kind of explaining them the right way how to do things. Sometimes people come in and they have stuff from other stores, and they're like, all right, they sold me this and that. And I'm like, you don't need any of that stuff. And I just lead people in the right direction. Like Ollie said, man, get them set up from the get-go the right way with a healthy tank from the start, and let them see your displays, let them see all your corals. And so they could kind of have an understanding of what their tank could potentially look like. And if you're not BSing them and not trying to upsell stuff that they don't need, they're going to trust you, then they're going to come back and you've got a long-term relationship.
But it's really a funny business, because how many customers come in here and go, I want that, ring me up, and they're out the door? Zero. They all have 7 to 12 questions on everything. It could be pumps, it could be corals, whatever it is. And so there's a huge time commitment on our part, to take care of them. But that's why you go to the local fish store, is that you get those questions answered. A lot of people, buy a new tank and then want to get an RO system. And I'm like, just wait a little bit, because you're going to want to come in and buy water, because you're going to have your list of 10 questions. And let's answer them out, and let's get them, get you on the right path. And then get, when you don't need us as much anymore, then you get your RO.
That consultation, man, that consultation is so important. And every time they come in, it's a consultation. They're asking many questions, and you're spending so much time with them to teach them the right way. You would feel horrible if you don't tell them something, and you don't want to ever withhold the information from them. But at the same time, it takes a lot of time to sit there and invest in each customer. So that's one thing. A lot of people, sometimes it just goes over their heads. They're at the shop and they don't even realize, you're. But a lot of customers do. A lot of customers really, really appreciate it. But a lot of other people just, they don't realize the type of information you're giving them is not something they're just going to find super easily online. And that's a big part of a benefit for a customer, is coming into a fish store that knows what they're doing with, look at the fish store's tanks. If they have beautiful, healthy tanks, listen to what they're saying. They're really going to be trying to help you out.
Dong, I know that you don't have a local fish store per se. but
yeah, we do.
you could-
You mean me?
well, I mean, yeah, you're not a local fish store per se, right? I mean, you're no.
Not exactly, but
Not
I do have
exactly.
people. Yeah, not exactly, but
you mentor a lot of people, I guess is what I'm trying to
yes.
say, that come
yeah,
in
every day, people coming in with tons of questions. So because I don't sell fish, so that's not a fish store.
I'm sure some of you guys have seen my store, but my front lobby, I have a big ass couch with a little coffee table, and I sit down and you know, it's still just me here. So when I am helping somebody, like Chris said, man, the time commitment, sometimes, you know, I'm with somebody for a while and people will sit on the couch and take their time and they will just listen in on everything I'm talking about because they're absorbing information while they're waiting.
I've had the couch since 2007 for that reason. Yeah. One, for the husbands or wives to sit down while the spouse shops, and two, they when it's busy, they're just lounging, taking in information, or just chilling, or just relaxing in a cool environment.
Looking at displays, sitting on the couch. It's like
free coffee.
I don't want to clean up any trash. No coffee.
Free water, so if they spill it in a tank, then you're okay.
Salt water.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's how I kind of like learned when I first got into the hobby is going to a local fish store and you know, looking at the guy that was running the local fish store. He had a kick-ass SPS display tank, and I was pumping in for information all the time. I would just be going back and just trying to mimic his method. So I think, you know, that's a great blueprint for somebody that's coming into the hobby is to find a local fish store, a successful local fish store, and pick their brains. You know, so you know, and I also think it's very, very worthwhile traveling if you don't have a local fish store nearby. You know, I mean, I live in a very rural area. We don't have a local fish store really. You know, maybe 3 hours is the closest one. I got Dong is like 3 hours away, but there's other local fish stores. True, you know, I'm looking at the Boston area, and that's like a 3 hour drive for me. So
wait, he doesn't sell fish though.
No. No.
Well, actually, yeah, the reason I don't sell fish is that what I found out is that selling fish is the quickest way to get people hate your guts. Unfortunately, that is the truth, because that they don't. Most of the customer, when they spend all this money on the fish is the hardest one to keep healthy. Seriously, after you leave your leave your care, it's very, very difficult.
100%.
Dong, you're getting some kudos here. Kevin C said Dong is my LFS and one of the best in mass. Corey Page, what's up now, Corey? He said the same thing.
Thank you.
And Corey says Dong loves to chat.
Yep. But I don't have a couch available.
No couch available there.
No couch available.
Bergas Senior, Treasure Coast Reefer, a lot of local fish stores lose interest once they have your tank full. Nice to have a store that will just shoot the breeze, knowing full well I need fish food left.
Yeah, Keith, you got some fish for me. How are those guys doing?
Oh, they're awesome, man. They're like just workhorses. You know, I got the 4 fox faces from you, so I got 2 in each display tank, and they get along fine. You know,
yeah, blonde nazo, right?
And the nazo tang, the blonde nazo, man, he completely annihilated that algae. What the hell is the name of that algae?
That weird one.
Yeah, it was a weird algae that was growing on my rocks in the bottom of the tank. And
is it like a brown plating, really, really rough?
Yes.
No fur, no hair.
What's it called again?
Julian Sprung told me what it was, and I forgot it. I have it in one of the messages. But that is an annoying algae. But I've heard the nasos and flamingos might eat it. But that is a weird algae, and it just grows completely flat, and it's brown, but it's
black, brown.
Yeah, and it's just
covers
snails and stuff won't touch it.
No. But So Kenny, you're doing the quarantine fish. One of the few local fish stores to do that. I mean, it can't be easy, given how expensive it is to set up that system. Problem, right?
Yeah, man. You know, I got a back room or a separate room for it with 2 systems. One's 250 gallons, which is a bunch of different sized tanks, and one's about 180 gallons. So I'm constantly testing copper, dealing with QT systems, and then running, 4 different coral systems, the fish system, the invert system, and dealing with local, the customers. And then now I'm shipping online. So today I actually shipped off 2 orders earlier in the day, one to Utah and another one down in California.
Kudos to you, Kenny. That's awesome, man. That's so much work and so much dedication you put into that. That's really cool. I wish there was a wholesaler that sold them like that, sold them to us like that. Why can't there be one wholesaler, just one, that does fish like that? That would be amazing. People come in here asking if fish have tea, and it's like, the wholesalers don't give us any guarantee. If we have it and it dies in a week, it's dead.
You're taking
so I'm with Dong. I don't do a lot of fish here because of that. If I was going to do fish, I would do it like Kenny, or I'm just not going to do a lot. I just tend to do easier stuff that's not prone to getting velvet. And sure, almost anything can get it, but I just try to pick just certain fish that I know over the past 30 years of doing this that are not prone to getting sick, and I just do a very small amount of it. But Kenny, that's the way to do it. I don't know, what is your practice with that, Chris? How you do fish over there, or if you just run it kind of old school with running a little bit copper in a separate fish system kind of thing. Yeah.
Cool. Copper and prosy. It's always a tough one because you quarantine for a full time, and then the pricing goes up, and then and there's a lot of people, a lot of our customers, well, not a lot, but a percentage that have their own QT tanks, so they don't need to QT it twice per se. We always tell them, hey, this is what we do. Here's how long this fish has been here, how long he's been in copper, whether he got prosied, and then kind of have them make their choice from that point. It's certainly not a perfect system. I can't say that, but it's somewhere where we found where it was kind of additional. Yeah.
Just so we all know that, thanks, Reef Keeper, that name of the algae that the naso ate is Loboflora.
Yep.
Nasty shit, because it'll just encase the rocks. It'll get all over the rocks.
Keith, you know what does eat it though? I have good luck with so in the past I was using a lot of pincushion urchins, but you know what eats it even better than pincushions? Just good old fashioned small tuxedos. They actually prefer it more than like the heavy duty pincushions. But finding a tuxedos really small is not easy.
Dude, I don't like putting urchins in my tank.
I know they move, but that's what I mean. You have to get them really small.
They carry frags, don't they?
Well, they do, but the tuxedos are way. They're not as strong as the pincushions, and you have to get them really small. And then it gets expensive, buying 30 tuxedo urchins. So,
and get 20 to survive.
Yeah,
right. Here's a question from Reef Management. Been having bad luck with customers with fox faces eating coral. Interesting.
I mean, I tell my customers with fox faces, about 10 to 15% of them go after coral, and that's eventually they always go after coral. Not all of them, but about 10-15%. Same with tangs. Same with most zebrasoma tanks. That's very common.
Blues.
And it's just part of it. It's just, you got to keep an eye on them, and usually you're in the clear, but sometimes you got to catch that guy out of the tank if he's eating something expensive.
Isn't that kind of sorry, Dong.
No
we don't have any absolutes in what we do.
There's no guarantees on anything.
You got 9 times out of 10, you're fine. You got 3 out of 10, you're fine, because there's always those outliers that Powder Blue eats my Ghani or whatever it is. And you're like, that's not in the book, but experience shows you that over time.
Yeah, all my hippo tanks except one, they all eat corals.
Oh, yeah.
I don't do hippos because of that.
Because that's why that people give them to me. oh, this one eat my coral. Oh, this one destroy my zoanthus garden. So then I put them in an SPS only tank. They're perfectly fine there.
Oh, so they're going
and
after
most of my
LPS.
yeah. So my LPS tank, is entirely different story. So most of my fox face, they eat corals too, because that's how they end up here.
You're the island of misfit toys over there with fish.
I haven't I haven't seen that yet with any of my fox faces. I mean, I got fox faces in besides the one I got from you, Kenny. I've got fox face in each of my frag tanks and
Well,
I mean,
Keith, you're doing mainly SPS, and they don't really go after SPS. If they go after something, it's usually a fleshy coral or zoas or something like that. Usually they're safe with SPS. Powder blue, blue tangs though can go after SPS, but for the most part, we're speaking about LPS and certain softies.
But the operative word is usually. So
usually, generally, these are words you have to use. You can't just say anything because there is no 100. There's no black and white.
Not at all.
And I like to communicate these numbers to the customers because they'll come in and they want like a leopard wrasse, and I tell them, look, you're gonna buy 5 leopard wrasses, maybe 2 will live if you're lucky. But I'm up front with them. I tell them all that stuff right away. I tell them when they buy a fish, it's 50-50 whether it's going to live or die. If it lives more than 2 months and it's generally eating aggressively, usually it's going to be a cool fish and it's going to be long-lived. But those first 2 months are always a gamble. Unless you're buying fish from Kenny, then they do good.
Yeah, I do all the weeding out in my quarantine process, man. Whoever's fish come in compromised. So whoever's the weak links get, filtered out. And like my fish sales system has no copper, no UVs. There's urchins, there's snails, there's all kinds of stuff where I sell all my fish out of because I don't need medication in there because they've all been fully quarantined. But I do play with fire, man, because I'm mixing in a bunch of tangs with each other all the time. There's tangs that have been in there for a month, and I'm adding new ones and triggers. And, there's a lot of fish coming in and out. So I play with fire because I got to play musical tangs when I release new batches of stuff. So try to mitigate the aggression but I've never had like an ick outbreak or anything like that because they've all been treated, so I don't have to worry about that part.
Kenny, I know why you have a couch. You probably sleep there too.
I'm here a lot, man. I'm closed Monday and Tuesday. Tuesday is the day I do shipping and all my store stuff. And then Monday is the day I do like my house stuff. And, I have 2 kids too. So
how's the shipping going, man? I think I was your guinea pig, man, for the
I played around with you. I shipped to you twice. So both of those were kind of trial runs. And man, it's I was shipping, here and there over the last year or so. And then I launched the online store about 3 months ago. So I started shipping pretty steady. I'm Humble Fish certified, so I'm up on his forum. So a lot of people buy through there. And I was supposed to have it tonight, but I got so much going on, I totally forgot. But I have a code being generated that you can put in on my web store. You can type in ReefBum, you get 10% off your first order.
Nice.
Let me write that down.
Nice.
Does that apply
Maybe
to
I
me
should
too?
go look.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk about that Regal I've been hinting about.
Maybe we can have a group buy.
We'll give you 11% off, Keith.
So
Keith worked out some trades.
So Ed, do you still have the PM, the Purple Monster?
I lost that, man. But I'm you sent them both to me, and I gave the one to Rich Ross. And
he lost his too.
Oh, did he? See, man, that fucking.
And I've lost a coral too. I lost my colony, and I lost my colony a couple of years ago, and I lost all my backups. I had like 8 or 9 backup frags. I lost them all, and none of the other corals in my tank were impacted. It was the Purple Monster, and so I've got it. Meckley's got it, and it's doing well.
There you go.
So he's my
good hands.
Back up to the backup to the backup.
Yes.
And
right,
Cap, you got the backup, Cap?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got some of that?
No.
No. Yeah.
No, I
I had it
years ago.
24 years ago and I killed it, and I haven't got one since. I did it 24 years ago and haven't got one since.
Megan,
Yeah, I
would
killed
love to
mine
try
too.
it again.
You killed yours too,
I-
Don?
Yeah, mine's all dead, all gone. Actually, I'm thinking about something. Is it because the lifespan of coral has something to do with it?
No.
Lifespan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wouldn't think so, but
Yeah, I mean, it does find in the ocean.
I sent the last living piece of tissue to Andy Bauma to get some DNA testing. So, and I believe it was successful in terms of being able to get him that sample. And he, that sample is going to Aquabiomics. So they're going to try to link it and to see if that is with the new stuff that they're bringing in, to try to see if there is some sort of link between the purple monster that's coming out of the Solomons, I guess now, versus the original piece that was imported a long time ago. Because I know that Jake had done that diving mission in the Solomons.
Yeah.
They had a kind of like a he did Unique Corals, Reef Builders, and Triton. I think it was a three-way partnership where they went on a collecting mission to try to find the original Tyree purple monster, and they did collect both the purple monster as well as like some blue monster. And I think that's the some of those pieces are probably in the trade someplace, but it would be interesting to see if there is any kind of lineage between the original piece and the pieces that are being shipped out now. I don't know. Have you guys seen any of the new purple monster that's been coming out of the Solomons?
Yeah, Tim Kelly's been bringing them. Eric had a few. He colored up really nice. I know Steve Garrett, his has colored up. Every time I go to his little backyard oasis, he points it out to me, and it looks really cool. It's not as purple as the purple monster. It's more like a pinkish monster, but it's still super cool.
It doesn't look like the original OG purple monster, right?
The original OG purple monster is purple, blue, purple.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
Right.
I mean, not yet. Maybe one of these pieces is going to color up exactly like that. I haven't seen that yet, but you know,
I think a lot of the
hopefully.
true OG purple monsters were grown underneath halides.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say too. Yeah. Isn't the halide probably dictated the coloration?
I think for years and years they were all grown underneath halides. You know, they're original OG monsters for sure.
Chris is saying, actually, all the wild ones I've seen turn green.
Oh.
Interesting.
when I've seen them, they don't look like the original to me.
Right.
But it's also like you were saying that, you know, it's been in captivity for a long time, so maybe it would morph. But I didn't have it. I got some in, or a couple of frags in, and sold them, and I haven't heard from that customer to see where it's like now. But they didn't seem the same. But maybe that was just nostalgia, or I don't know.
Right. The pictures I've seen, it doesn't look the same. So I had Jason's question up here, and then I took it off, but I'm putting it back up here. So this is back to fish. What's happening there, Jason? It seems the selection of fish at local fish stores is limited compared to many years ago. It's the same fish visit after visit. Is this due to collection availability or the local fish store not wanting to sit on the fish? Thoughts?
You know, I think that some of it, I think that many years ago, I think the hobby has morphed into more of a reef style than it has into big fish onlys like we used to have. And so I don't carry a lot of big angels. You know, we're a coral store that sells fish. And so I don't keep a bunch of, big angels, or, it's just not my forte and for my customer base. So that could be the impression that he's seeing, but the lists have them all. I usually just go right past a lot of them. And then somebody will ask me, can you get a blue-faced angel? I'm like, oh, I'll check the list. I don't even look at the angels because it's not but I could stock my tanks with all of those fish. It's just not, I can't sell that and then sell a micromusa at the same time, in good faith.
Yeah, man, I see, but the selection of fish I see is amazing from the suppliers. But like I said, same. I'm a reef store that caters mostly to reefers, so I don't, have triggers and puffers and big angels and butterflies, except copper bands, and I do like blue throats and niger triggers and stuff. But the selection is good. It's some high-end fish, I'll bring in blotchies, I'll bring in gym tangs, occasional black tanks, stuff like that. And if you have to sit on that for a while, that's tied up a good amount of money. When royal karamas, clownfish, all that, sand-sifting gobies, Bengai cardinals, all, those stuffs just fly out all the time. So I can see what Jason's saying is you come in, you do see a lot of the same stuff. But that doesn't mean that supply isn't there and we can't access, whatever you're looking for. Like, we can get almost anything you're looking for. With me, I take special orders, like people say they're looking for a certain fish. I bring them in and then they know it's going to be about a month before, they're going to get it because I go through my process with them.
Thank you, Joe, for that super chat messages. Send a salami to your boy in the army.
That's a Jerky Boys reference for anybody wondering.
So I also see people fish stores selling fish right out of the cooler. Yeah, for example, that fish store will post on Facebook saying that, okay, here's a list of fish I'm going to order in, and then the people line up outside the outdoor, and then just hang them the bag straight out from the cooler. We call it back alley fish selling. What do you think about those?
You know what? We've had some in our market, and they're no longer here anymore. Because I don't think it's a good business plan over a long period of time, because you're not building, that relationship with your customers. They're just trying to get a super cheap fish, and so I think short term, okay, I can see how somebody would be tempted to do that, but long term it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I have a shipment of fish and I'm unloading them, I'll have customers in the shop and they're fighting over the bags. It's not like I'm getting the fish ready and they're like, they're insisting to buy it out of the bag. So if they're insisting, they're gonna, they know the risk, and these are usually regular customers and stuff anyways. Yeah. So that's a little different than back alley fish, but yeah.
Well, that totally happens, but you'll go through and go, hey, it just came in, we'd prefer not to, but if you really want it, have at it.
And explain the risk.
Yeah.
With me, I think it's a way to mitigate the risk directly to the customer, right? Is that would be the case? So that way that there's a more because of fish loss is such a big problem. So if
communication, you just have to explain to them. Yes.
It also depends on the customer too. You have Ollie has good customers that come in and know what they're doing. If you have some newbies that come in and just want a cheap fish, the odds are pretty low that it's going to work out well.
Yeah.
Or lower.
Well, yeah, that's why sometimes I hear people come in, that beep, 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 sell me beep, beep, beep. And that's really the fastest way to piss off a customer, seriously.
So we were having an interesting dialogue again before we went on the air. And Ollie, you were kind of talking about your favorite dry rock, right? I mean, this is literally like dry rock you're talking about in terms of what you recommend people to start their tanks out with. So I would love for you to kind of repeat what you said and for us to kind of like have that discussion, because all you guys provide advice. You're mentoring people that are just getting into the hobby, or people that have been in the hobby, maybe haven't had the success they'd like. But I'd love to get a consensus from you three guys in terms of the best way to start a tank, dry rock, live rock, and what to do in terms of the cycling and the adding of the fish, or are you adding corals first? So Ollie, why don't you go first, man, since you kind of like put the bug in my head.
Okay, well, live rock You guys should check with Eric at Route 66 because he is able to get Bali rock and Australian live rock, and he has a bunch of it in his vats fully cured. So that's old school, fantastic live rock that should always be,
And
numero
Route
uno.
60, Route 66 is a wholesaler.
They're a
Yep.
wholesaler. So if you have local fish stores, have them deal with Eric at Route 66 for that type of rock. As far as the dry rock goes, the past year, I've been doing exclusively real reef rock arches and bigger arches, and I'll give them props, man. This rock has been really good. They might have had some issues here and there in the past, but it's really, really good right now. From my experience, from the tanks that I've set up with it, and it's been quite a few tanks I've set up with it, and these tanks aren't really even getting any initial algae bloom. They're a very mild algae bloom that's normal, but nothing that's ongoing and prolonged. And it's all very easy to deal with. But I'll give Real Reef just like a shout out because those arches they're doing right now, the shapes are so cool, so easy to aquascape. Very little, they're arches, so it's very little point of contact with sand or glass and rock on rock. So when you do your aquascape, it's just nice and open, and there's water current, water flow everywhere. But and they cure their rock again in big saltwater vats, so they cure it in those vats for a while. But when it comes to the shop, it's dry, and sometimes it sits dry for a long time. So yeah, if you start a tank with that, I usually inoculate the rock again when I go to set the rock up in the tank. I inoculate that rock with reef bacteria, whether it's a little bit of rubble from my tanks or dead snail shells from some of my established system, or even a scraping of coralline algae, just whatever. Just not the scraping of coralline algae for the coralline algae. I'm scraping it for the bacteria that's on that algae. Just get some reef bacteria matter into the tank. I'm not a fan of using any bottled bacterias. Maybe some work. I'm not a fan of it. I like reef bacteria. So add that, and then I let those tanks kind of just do another mild cycle from anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks, however long it's going to take. And then I start the customers off with coral. Easy, inexpensive corals, obviously, at first, because you don't want to put anything crazy right in the beginning, but just inexpensive, easy corals, and just build it up with corals. Nothing's going to die. Everything will be, if they're healthy, if you're buying healthy corals and your tank is set up properly, man, that's the best way to start a tank. The algae bloom goes even lower. You're putting more reef bacteria in there every time you're adding coral, and that tank will just get off to such a good start. And then after a month or even longer of doing just corals, then if somebody wants to add fish, I'll add the fish. But that's usually generally how I get these tanks going.
On a side note, Ollie, the Real Reef shelves, they switched how they made them. They're awesome now. You can get some big pieces of shelf. They're super thin. They're really nice to aquascape with.
Yeah, I have some here. Right. Yeah, it's fantastic right now.
I'm
a big fan of the Real Reef right now.
We also take Marine Pure ceramics, and we'll put them in some of our systems. And so when somebody's cycling their tank, we'll just take, they have these little pods, so they're the size of maybe a tennis ball. And we'll take one of those and put it in a bag and send them home with that. And so they get not only the denitrifying bacteria, but all the bacteria that's growing in some of our coral flats. There's always good and bad to go with it, but I think it's much more good than it is bad.
I think that's
the trick is you're doing one piece of biomedia. You're not filling up your whole sump with these ceramics that could be leaching who knows what into the tank and causing algae.
Aluminum.
Just one piece.
One
That's
piece
it.
to get all the bacteria in there. And
Exactly.
It brings pods, it brings, some of them have been in there that you can get a little bit of sponge that would be great in your sump too. And so It's just a little piece, but yeah.
So no bottles of denitrifying bacteria, no shrimp, just some reef rubble.
Like he said, man, reef bacteria. Like with my customers, I keep tons of rubble in my sump. They get a handful of rubble, and it's like, what are we cycling a tank for? We're not cycling a tank for coral. So first week after the tank's been running, I have them come get coral. Ali said that the key factor here is easy corals, softies, leathers, zoanthids, mushrooms. Second week, more coral. Third week, more coral and a couple inverts, cleaner shrimp, stuff like that. Fourth week, fish. We're not cycling a tank for coral. We're cycling a tank for fish and inverts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the more
I think that's very important.
The more bacteria you're putting in there, and the faster that cycling. And like my customers do not get ugly stages by doing it this way. There's no
lights on, off during this process?
You're starting a reef tank from day one. It should be running how it should be running from day one. But if you do it the way I do it, you got a reef tank off the bat.
You got to have the lights on. But Ali, you were saying for the first month or whatnot, you're not running lights, right?
Well, if I'm going to do a let's say a 2 to 6 week cycle, I just generally don't run the lights because why waste the electricity and why possibly grow bad algae? But I tell the customers, if you want to enjoy the tank, sure, turn the light on, but don't run it on a full cycle. Just turn it off when you're done looking at it. But the way Kenny's doing it, he's adding corals the next week. Mm-hmm. So sure, you're going to run the lights right when you have to run the lights when you run the corals.
Right.
Yep. I think that adds to an important benefit of local fish store because you are able to get those true marine bacteria to sit your tank because that is almost impossible to have those bacteria. They love oxygen to seal in a bottle, sit in a store shelf. It doesn't make sense. So I think that the local fish store, this is a really important aspect to start a successful tank is be able to get the real marine bacteria straight to your tank. No shipping involved, just quickly get into your tank. Yeah.
I have used some of the P&S stuff. They're the red bottle, man, that looks like tropical Gatorade. And it looks like Gatorade, makes you want to drink it, but you pop that top and it smells.
I haven't used any of the PNS stuff, but I've heard really good stuff about that. I put that PNS in a whole different ballpark than your off the shelf, whatever stuff.
Ken at Hydrospace knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
We're gonna have
it has like on in a couple of months. Marine-based bacteria, not like a terrestrial-based bacteria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've started. I have to reboot my quarantine system sometimes when I like every 6-8 months or so. I have to sterilize the shit out of them with bleach and do all that stuff to prevent bacteria buildup and all that good stuff. So I have to start them all over again, and I do use water out of my coral systems to start them up because all that water is going to end up being medicated anyway. And I'll use some of that PNS, the red stuff, man. And 2 days later, I got fish in that shit.
Buddha, Hungry Ali. Is that you were talking about there, Ali?
No, that's Jeremy. That's Jeremy from Exotic Frags. He's an old school. Jeremy's the man. Jeremy and Hector from Exotic Reefs. Exotic Reefs or Exotic Frags? I forgot what it is. But he's a legend, man. Those guys had fantastic stuff way back in the day. What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, so Chris, what's your philosophy in terms of when you got a new customer coming in terms of starting a reef tank? What are you? What's your advice?
PNS has the deep cycle too, and I think the deep cycle is a good way of starting it. And then the ProBio, a little bit later on. We do sell TurboStart. We do have some people that, are in a little bit more of a hurry and we'll do ammonia and TurboStart. But we always, it kind of depends on what. We also do the Marine Pure, the Marine Pure ceramic. So we're putting a lot of it in. So, but I think most people, when they're starting, we usually start, we start, get some cleanup crew, keep your lights off, we're always testing. We want to hit ammonia highs twice before anything goes in. Now corals definitely can go in earlier, but before you get fish, I want two peaks in the ammonia, and then once it's down, then we start very, very slow. We are always preaching it's a marathon, not a sprint. Marathon, not a sprint. And bring in water or have a means to test your ammonia to make sure that you don't have any mess ups during that process.
So actually, I've got a question. Is that because you mentioned cleanup crew? So actually, my question is that do you actually QT the cleanup crew? Is it necessary?
We don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. How I think that's a possibility. I think it's a real small possibility to get a disease from cleanup crew. It's certainly possible, but to have a fish,
it's possible. I know Keith had that issue. I had that issue where, and I know which supplier I got the snails from. They usually have a good amount of snails. I'm not going to mention their name, but they'll put their dead fish or their sick fish in with the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
And
no way.
They have and then, it's just sometimes it's horrible. And then, Keith, I know you had that issue introducing snails once, and you got velvet, but it's slim. But now when I bring in snails, I freshwater dip all the snails before I put them in my tanks, and it's just it's never ending. There's always a risk of somewhere introducing something.
Mm-hmm.
Even coral, you could get velvet. Tomots can insist on coral and can be released in your tank. That's why all my coral flats, I've never added any wild fish to those flats just because of that reason. And all my inverts are kept in a fishless system. So I try to mitigate that process of it. That doesn't mean all those inverts didn't come out of the dang ocean beforehand.
Ali, I don't think I got velvet from the snails. I mean, I got something that was going on with my fish. I was losing some fish after I introduced some snails. I'm not sure if it was velvet. I mean, isn't like velvet like something you can't get out? Or it's pretty much wipes out every fish you got in the tank?
No, not necessarily. You could it's rare, but 95% of the time, 96% of the time, it wipes out the fish. Yeah. But I've had tanks recover from it, and it could happen. It could happen, but it's usually not good when you get velvet.
Yeah, I'm not sure I had it, but I had something.
Some fish will build up resistance to it and become immune. So you could have a tank that you get a velvet wipeout in, and you could have some chorothoraces or stuff like that still made it. But 80% of your fish went down, and then that tank recovers. After good husbandry, and the health comes back to the system.
That's just Murphy's
Law. It does take about 76 days for the velvet tomots to die off before you could technically put in a new host. But if those fish in there didn't get it, they're usually going to be okay. And you just got to be careful when you add new fish to it.
That's just Murphy's Law. You lose almost all your fish but one, so you can't go fishless.
Right.
And it's the fish you didn't want.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the fish you've been wanting to get out of there for a long time.
Yeah. The one that really goes in a fish trap.
Yeah.
That's why it's so worth it to pay more money for those conditioned and quarantined fish, because it's not you're not just paying more money for that fish, you're paying not to kill all your healthy established fish. And you might have way more invested in all your established fish than you do this new fish. The more fish you have, the more expensive the next fish should be, because it should be quarantined, and you should be paying for to protect your investment. You got to. So Kenny, once again, you're doing a great job, dude. You got providing that
expensive fish. Like say you got a tank with black tangs and gym tangs, zebra tangs, or red eye tile fish, and then you throw in an algae blending, and then boom.
So Todd from Champion said, speaking of the cleanup crew, you guys keep inverts in a separate system from fish. We run an invert system with no fish.
Exactly.
Is that what you do?
That's what I do. Yeah.
And we have fish in our system with the inverts.
You do. Okay. And isn't there an online vendor or somebody that sells QT cleanup crew.
Reef cleaners.
Reef cleaners. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you just
That's
gotta sit on them, man. You gotta order them, and then like just have an official system for a couple months before you could basically sell them and make sure there's no infectious parasites on them.
Rob,
So
upstate New York. Oh, go ahead, man. Sorry.
it's just time consuming. I don't want to. I'm already doing enough with the fish. I don't want to do all that stuff.
I think the tuxedo urchins are highly underrated. I think it's very low to get velvet or disease from a
they
tuxedo
don't need
urchin.
to be QT.
They don't have rock on them, but I think tuxedos are one of the most underrated cleanup crew animals out there. So
Yeah,
get those urchins, boys.
urchins and stars don't need to be QT'd. They just need to be rinsed because nothing can insist on them.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that I keep these tiny urchins.
rinse them a couple
I
tank water. I just do tank water transfer in like 3 separate containers before I toss them in.
I have this urchin that has no color, but they're definitely pincushion urchins.
Yeah, they're
So
like
I get it.
off pink, kind of whitish.
Yeah, off pink. Oh, those are great algae
Those are-
eater.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, they doesn't look very good, but they really works well. So normally I get them so tiny from Florida, and I tell the guy said, oh yeah, I want some really, really small one. They grow up really quick as well. And I remember one of my customer bought, he has his back of his tank all covered with hair algae. So he tried all sort of different kind of cleanup crew. So eventually he got 2, this colorless or light pink color urchin from me. So he told me next day he woke up and see 2 mowing strip at the back of the tank.
Yeah, like a lawnmower went through it.
Yeah, lawnmower just.
It's amazing how fast they can grow when you have a lot.
Oh,
of
yeah.
they get big.
Those pin cushions get big and they're strong, so
Yeah,
they'll move a bunch of. They could carry really heavy things. So Keith, you were saying earlier, you have to have your coral secure if you're
Really
going to do
do,
pin
yeah.
cushions. Tuxedos are a bit more gentle. Sure, they could pick up stuff, but they don't have the strength that the pin cushions do. The pin cushions are little Ronnie Coleman's, man. Those guys are tough.
Yeah. If you got a lot of frags in that tank, it's not a good idea.
Your aquascape too. They can produce some leverage if you have any wobbly rocks. You're going to find it in the sand bed.
So, what do you guys think is like the biggest mistake people make when they kind of like are at the beginning of the hobby and getting into it and all that sort of thing? What do you see as kind of the most common mistake that people make? Is it overthinking things? You mentioned before somebody did about online. There's a lot of information. That might have been Chris. You said somebody came in, or no, maybe it was Kenny, or I can't remember who said. But is that the problem? Is that there's just so much information online that people kind of do their own research and make their own conclusions?
Misinformation.
I'm like answering my own question, so I should let you guys talk. So I'll stop talking.
I think there's a lot of different ways of doing it. Refugium. There's a bunch of different ways. When people come in here, we just teach them what our way is, and a lot of those are obviously it's water quality and everything that starts the whole conversation. But I think they go on and they'll see this beautiful tank that has an Achilles, a powder brown, a powder blue, and then they're like, that's what I want. And you don't realize the work that person went into to get that. And so educating that process, I think that's the biggest thing with online, is that you can see that one tank. You never see all the other tanks where they lose all their fish and it's cryptoed out. They don't see that. They see that one. And so setting up realistic expectations, especially for their first year of reef keeping, is really important.
Yeah, I have so many customers said that can they just buy the whole thing?
Yeah.
Can they just carry my whole tank away? Actually, it did happen one
$10,000,
time.
it's yours.
Oh no, that's too cheap.
And you move it.
Yeah, actually, there's one time there's a fish store came here to buy coral for their client. They're on iPhone FaceTiming. So then the gentleman over the other side of the phone said, ask him how much he want for his whole tank, my 200-gallon tank. How much he want? You guys have all these big people here. You can, if you want to sell it, you carry it away. I said, well, it doesn't work that way.
Nah.
There's another guy said, oh, yeah, if I get a frag of every coral you have in this tank, will I be able to recreate this? I said, no, not exactly.
And that's
it's not about the coral.
Is that somebody that's new to the hobby?
Oh, no. Somebody in the hobby for a long time.
Oh, okay.
And then he said, well, what happens if I buy a frag for every piece? I said, well, it's not about the coral. It's about that how you actually take care of them. That's what creates aquascape. It's not like a piece of decoration that you can flower arrange them. So, but I do get a lot of these questions. Oh, yeah, can I carry your tank away?
I think that it's important for people to understand that this is a hobby, for most people. If it's going to be a feature in your house, then hire a maintenance company and have them take care of it. But this is a hobby. It's a journey along the learning everything. You're not born with this language or this knowledge. And it kind of, I always think of it as, I like to fly fish, and I don't go out to harvest a bunch of fish. That's not why I do that. I go out, to the environment, the chase and everything. And that's what I think new hobbyists really need to learn, is that you have to figure out the problem, and that's what the hobby's all about. And I think that most of them are in just too much of a hurry to have, that tank behind you, Dong, and no, you have to learn the processes, along that way. And you're never going to get there unless you learn and go through some of those processes.
Yeah. I recommend everybody that's starting out to go listen to Reef Therapy with Mark and Jake, the episode about the dangers of overdoing it, because a lot of people overdo it. When they get into this, they just kind of go too crazy, add this, add that, add this reactor, add that reactor. Man, you don't need anything to run these to keep corals healthy. You could put corals in a Rubbermaid tub with a freaking power head, a Tunzi Stream power head, a little bit of rock, and a light, and the coral will be okay. Those corals, right? We're not talking about high-end tenuouses and things like that to get perfect coloration out of this and that. But if you're going to keep a basic reef tank with some healthy hammer corals, and you could keep, and softies, and just the really beautiful stuff, you don't need all this stuff. You could run these systems so freaking easy, and you don't need all the stuff. And the more stuff you have, actually the worse it is, because you have, let's say you have a probes, or you have frag racks in your tank. The magnets on those things end up breaking or leaching, or they're made with completely piece of shit plastics that end up just leaching metal to your tank and causing you more problems. And it's just, these corals are filters themselves. The rock is a filter, and the water flow helps everything oxygenate and do its thing. And it's just, this stuff doesn't have to be that difficult. You don't need to run a bunch of reactors. You don't need all this expensive stuff. You could run a gorgeous reef tank incredibly easy if you just trust in the animals and trust in the bacteria that do the work. It's just, I see so much nonsense, and I have to always help customers take away. I feel bad. I'm like, why did you buy that? That's gonna, you don't need that. Can you return it? Return it if you could return it. And poor people, man, they just get fooled into just buying all this stuff that they don't need. And it sucks.
That's great advice, dude. Hey, just a quick shout out to Huda for that awesome super chat. Very, very generous, my friend. Appreciate the comments. And so, Dong, this actually kind of maybe reminds me of that question that you wanted to ask those guys, that dry goods question about bulk reef supply and Ecotech,
Oh.
and Neptune, and all that stuff. Maybe it's a good transition into that.
Sure. So how's your dry goods sales these days? Especially with the Ecotech AI, Neptune system, bulk reef
I mean,
supply, all in one thing.
It's you know, I just wish BRS customers are gonna hate me, but I just wish they wouldn't have these these silly sales all the time, like where they're selling their our cost on some of this stuff is what they put it they advertise it for sale for, and it just, we can't really make money off of that stuff. And I don't know, I just wish they wouldn't have all these silly sales all the time and stick to just at least map prices on this stuff. Like, just let's level out the playing field, at least make it map pricing. In fact, I think most of these manufacturers should give brick and mortar stores an extra discount. Absolutely. Because of the consultation that we do to the customers. We invest so much in. So let's say they order a skimmer, right, on BRS. They order that skimmer, put it in. They don't have their water level right. They don't know how to set it. They don't know about breaking in period. They don't know the intricacies of, like, just all whatever. We're the ones that have to teach them all that. You should give us a little price break. Let us make a little money off of it, and I think it'd be better for everybody in the long run. I'm not saying BRS don't have sales, just at least make it kind of reasonable. Don't throw something just like an outrageously low price on it where it just pisses off every store that's selling that same stuff.
They'll have a lot of sales
because, like, most vendors, like, take manufacturers like the big lights, wave makers, all that stuff. There's like tier brackets that you kind of get put into when you're buying this stuff as a business. And it's like, the more you buy, the cheaper, the more of a discounted rate you get it for. So the big guys like BRS, and, it's basically like Walmart or Costco, they're getting at this super cheap price. But yeah, like, why not give us, us mom pops who are the ones selling this product to somebody and given all the knowledge behind it, because we've used this product, we've had experience with this product, and we're selling it based on our trust for this product. Yeah, I think we should get a little cheaper rate than the big guys, or at least make it the same.
The other thing they do is a lot of rewards points too. So they do a lot of rewards points. So then they'll do 10 times, 10.
And then you get a little stuffed animal.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is you buy $1,000 worth of stuff, you get $100 off. So, then that's cutting well below map just through the rewards. Is kind of a backdoor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's capitalism. Let people could run a business however they want. With, as long as they're respecting map pricing rules. But I really think manufacturers should give local fish stores, brick and mortar places, mom and pop places, a little bit of an extra discount for the work that we do. Just a little bit. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Look it up.
So let me give you one.
Or the same what big guys are getting.
Yeah. And then let me give you one real life example is that I talked to a customer about a light. Spent almost 2 hours, go through all this kind of thing, and then he whipped up a phone, check the bulk reef supply. They have a sale. And then I said, well, I cannot even match that price. If I match that price, I'm actually upside down. Then
I've done that 100 times, Don.
Oh, yeah.
Times.
Yeah. Then the guy said, oh, sure. Then in that case, he just ordered online right in front of my face. And then he turned to me, he said, after the line arrived, can you set it up for me?
Yeah. When you started this conversation, you saw all three of us go, yeah, because it happens all the time to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So actually, I have a solution for that. I said, well, yes, I can set up the line for you, but there will be a fee. So if you buy from me, I can set up a line for you without any charge. But since you buy the line from somewhere else, you want me to set it up, there is a standard fee.
Todd says you should charge $150 an hour for that setup.
I only charge them $50 for a project base, so I should go to 150.
But what really, I mean, it's the reality of it. So how do we adjust to it? It's probably not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah.
I don't think. So how do we adjust to it? And that's why concentrating on the livestock, we have dry goods, but concentrating on the livestock because we can set our own margins at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what a local fish store has to do to survive, because we can't charge more because everybody has a phone. I can't.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, and that's one of the bad parts of having a local fish store. But we can adjust with that with different things, frozen foods a little bit. You can do some different things with frozen food. You can do some creative ways to get, frag packs and things that help our margin quite a bit.
So let me ask this question. How important, are knowledgeable stocking distributors for local fish stores? Champion Lighting and Supply, Todd. They're a sponsor, but Todd is very knowledgeable. He's got a lot of product knowledge and stuff like that. Is that important to you guys? To help you make more informed decisions about new products, or do you deal mainly with manufacturers when new products come out?
I don't think it's that. I think that the people you have here probably know more than most distributors do, at least in my, I haven't ordered from Champion, I'm sure there's a lot of them out there, but I think that what I found is that a lot of them know the product through the sales presentation from the manufacturer, not necessarily what happens inside an aquarium as much as we do. And so, there's a lot of times where we'll bring something in, or they'll send us something, we can test it out. But I don't ask them for advice. Generally, I do my own research, and I kind of know through manufacturers or different people that I talk to whether I'm going to like that product or not. Hopefully that answers your question without throwing anybody under the bus. But Todd
says we only do sales authorized by manufacturers. So there you go.
I don't think it's necessary, but I respect it and I value it. Like with Todd at Champion, I could text Todd and ask him things, and he will get right back to me. My Coral View rep, when I'm building tanks for somebody, they want to do like full hydros, everything. I'll work with him individually because he knows it hand in and out, and we will build their tank together. So I do like having that relationship with my vendors where I could give them a phone call. We got each other's cell number. I don't know. I really like that. And Todd being like a true hobbyist too, that speaks a lot about the products he sells. It's just like what I sell here. I trust it. It's stuff that I use. It's stuff that other reefers I know use and trust. I don't sell BS. I don't sell no snake oil. And I'm sure, Todd's kind of in that same boat. So I do respect and value that, but it's not necessary because I do have, buy a lot from people that I don't have those relationships with, but I value the relationships that I have built with, people like Todd.
Yeah, selling stuff that you believe in and selling stuff that you actually use, that's the whole thing. I only want to sell the stuff that I love, stuff that I really like to use. And then you're not coming off as like a weird, cheesy, like sleazy, like salesman to the people, because you're like you're trying to help them out. You're like, the reason you want this product over this product is just because this one does this. But when you actually use it and you really believe in it, that's the whole thing.
Plus,
yeah, that's my
everything anymore, because we're not going to have this inventory of all the products. There's so many products out there. We go with the ones that we know and we trust.
Yeah, that's my my little online dry goods store. I just sell the stuff that I use pretty much. I mean, Captivate Aquaculture, Royal Exclusiv, skimmers and pumps. That's what I use, and so it's stuff like that. The Fauna Marine ICP test kits and Fauna Marine stuff. So it's again, it's the stuff that you really got to believe in. The stuff that, GHL, I got all the GHL stuff. I sell that sort of stuff. It's I kind of have the same philosophy, Ali. It's just like, if you're selling stuff that you don't know and have had that experience with, and you can't advise your customers about, based on your experiences, your firsthand experiences, then what good is it? There's just having the knowledge of the stuff that you sell in terms of actually using it, I think goes a long way. And I think that's a great, advantage of somebody shopping at a local fish store and talking to you guys about that stuff, because you're selling the stuff that you really truly believe in and use.
Yeah, and it's on display in our store, and they can see it, and I can pull out my phone and go, here's the app, here's how you use it, and or whatever, and it really helps. And
if they got problems with it or something like that, and they got some issues, you could say, yeah, well, I had the same issue and do X, Y, and Z.
Hey, actually, the customer most likely going to call you first.
Yeah.
Before they call the manufacturer.
Because none of the manufacturers have any phone numbers to call.
Oh, yeah,
That's
absolutely.
True. Yeah.
You're totally right,
True.
Chris. They hide.
Yeah.
They hide and they let us do the work. So once again, we deserve a discount.
Authorized retailer and our phone number is public, then theirs isn't in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually,
I was just
for
going to say,
the LED
Don,
light.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Okay. So for the LED light that I sell, I actually be able to repair them.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm able to repair the rebreather, AI, mass spec. I can repair the Radeon if I have parts.
All right, everybody, you heard it. Send your stuff to Don.
What's your address?
I've been repairing so many lights. The out of warranty stuff.
Hey, just a shout out to Greg Carroll's in the house. What's happening there, Greg? He said, great to see Ali on ReefBum. I still remember he was watching an episode and texted me, shocked that was really his tank.
What is he talking about?
What's he talking about?
I don't understand that.
I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about there.
I don't know.
Love Greg. I got Reef Palooza coming up. I'm not going to make it this year. Sorry, I'm not going to see you.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You got to make it to California one time. Come on.
I was at nobody was at Reef Retreat, man. That was an awesome show. You
came? You came to California once?
No, I went. I was talking about Reef Retreat, the one in Rhode Island.
Oh,
a couple weekends ago, like the original Magnus.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good show, huh?
Oh, it was an awesome show.
Yeah.
A lot of camaraderie. A small bunch of people. I mean, maybe 150 people.
That's awesome.
But it was great talks, great networking and socializing, and there wasn't like a huge big vendor war with dry goods.
Did you get a candle?
What's that?
Did you get a candle?
No, what do you mean?
I saw Rich gave out a bunch of candles.
I had to leave
Those were cool.
I had to leave like late Saturday afternoon because I made the big mistake of staying in an Airbnb. And because I brought my fishing boat down and I couldn't park. Well, I didn't want to leave it at the university all the time. And the Airbnb turned out to be a freaking nightmare. So I was like, I can't stay there another night. So I bailed like late Saturday afternoon. I didn't make it through the whole show.
I saw Salem posted. On. He posted Julian's talk on DOCs. Are the other talks from Reef Retreat also on YouTube?
Not yet that I know of.
I don't think they're going to be there.
I only see one. I
wish they were all there.
Yeah.
Somebody upload them, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they're able to do that or not. But so that's my shameless plug for Reef Retreat. If they have another one, I highly recommend going. It's a good time.
Well, that's the thing. If you own a fish store, you're trapped. I can't do shit. I can't go anywhere. I'm trapped.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you cannot go anywhere. So anytime that I leave this for more than one day, somebody die in there.
Really? So, Ali, you can't leave, man? You're just you're a prisoner to that store?
I don't do anything.
Really?
I just
You don't trust anybody to babysit?
Yeah, I mean, but Yeah, it's just hard.
If,
You end up losing a lot of money every day you're closed too, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why my wife gave me a 10-year time limit from now. 10 years, maximum 10 years.
10 more
And
years
after that, 10 more years, and all these things should be gone. So I can travel the world with her.
I was
So
going to
this
ask
is-
if that was 15 years ago that she gave that to you.
No, it's recently pretty firm.
Okay, you renegotiated?
Oh, it depends.
So here's
Yeah, it is
a
a lot of things to very hard to let go, you know.
so here's a question for you guys. If you had more time to do something, you know, in the future, what would you spend that time on?
For me, it'd be propagation. I would put more resources into propagation.
And sell to local customers, Chris, or actually sell online, or is that just too much of a
I don't know.
hassle?
It's, you know, I always think of those, you know, those jugglers that have the stick and the plate on the stick. And so I've got the maintenance going, and then I have the retail store, and I want to get that online one going, and I just can't figure out. I have probably the best staff I've ever had, but I just can't get that online yet. So hopefully in 2025 we'll do something small. You just if you're going to do it, you have to do it right, and you have to do it, you know, right from the beginning. But hopefully online we'll start something. But you have to have the corals to be able to do it. And you have to think about where, you know, I can get a coral and I can cut it into 10 frags and I can sell all 10 frags, but then you don't have that coral anymore, you know? So it's an opportunity for scaling for us and trying to figure that out. I see some of these online guys and I'm like, I don't know how they do it, but God, you know, scaling is the biggest part. But it would be propagation because, you know, we don't know what's going to happen with importing corals down the road. We just do not know that. And so I think that it's you know, hedging my bet that I'm going to have to self-produce corals at some point in my career, unless I retire anytime soon.
I think that the importation from overseas is one aspect to look at, probably become smaller and smaller amount. But there is another more urgent thing I can see from those law being keep pushing every year into the Congress, like the Saving Nemo Acts. Actually, there is one very important thing in every single bill, is that not allowing coral as an endangered species to cross state line. That means that all your online retailer just gone.
Sure.
If you want this piece of Aquapora, you have to buy it in the state. Yeah. Well, I don't know how. Well, you are not going to check the ID, right? So, you're from New Hampshire. I refuse to sell it to you. Maybe you have to do that, but the thing is that, I think that at that time, local fish store actually probably become more relevant. If you want that coral, you have to buy from a local fish store. You cannot mail order it, because I see every single this proposed law, they all have that in there. Not crossing the state, not allow the coral as an endangered species to cross state line. So that probably can something that we should prepare for is for the aquaculture effort locally.
Sure. Well, and if you do online, but you have to start with culturing your own corals and having the stock to be able to do it. And if they do, you can't cross state line, then we just have more corals for our locals, you know, at that point. But you still have to have the corals, and I think that's what I'm, you know, looking. You have that. You have importing corals. You have exporting, you know, CITES, or you know, if they shut down a different, you know, we had Fiji, we had Indo shut down. And so at some point, and that's where we kind of rely on some of our maintenance accounts as well to do that. You know, it's kind of like I see these, you know, like Meckley has a huge facility and a greenhouse and, you know, and everything, he's growing a ton. We have it with our maintenance accounts too. You know, we can go in there and put a bunch in there but you still have to have the corals. If you can't get them and you don't have a stock to be able to grow them, then you can't do anything at that point if something bad happens in the future.
Mm-hmm. maybe Mackley can have 50 store, 50 farms, one farm every state.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, that can be, it may not be that far-fetched, seriously, by looking at this law. I like to look at them. Every time they push up one, I read them. Said, well, just like reading patterns, it's really scary.
What was
really scary.
What was the likelihood of that potentially coming to fruition there, Dong?
Actually, very likely, because they push it every year.
Oh yeah.
Every freaking year. I
I
don't know about the Saving Nemo Act this year. I didn't follow up with that.
They
It may
did
be
it this
pushed
year.
through.
It
And
did
that's
go
how you
through.
get.
They did it again
some-
this year, and then like 3 years ago too. The Saving Nemo.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like in Colorado, they legalized marijuana, but it didn't happen the first time. It didn't happen the second time. It happened
Eventually,
10 years down the road. You finally got enough people to vote on it. And so when you see it in the initial aspects of it, then it worries you, because they usually don't go away until they pass it. So especially in a vulnerable thing, like, we keep corals that at some parts of the ocean aren't doing very well, and so it's kind of like a low-hanging fruit in some ways for lawmakers.
Then you got
I think that the important thing is that in terms of the view of the lawmakers, there is no difference for aquaculture coral versus wild coral.
Sure.
There's no difference at all. They treat it as the same. So if a coral classified as endangered species as a wild coral, then all your aquaculture coral, all endangered species.
Sure.
That's how that is very clear on the law. That's how they say it. For example, your Oregon turk is not be able to pass state line if that happen, because that Aquaculture Tosa is endangered species. Actually, it's not on the allowable list. It's on the not allowed to collect list.
Well, what scares me is that if that law goes through, then what's the next law? Is it importation? And so, and then, it can go down, a very slippery slope for us to depend on that.
So that's why I think that local aquaculture effort probably is pretty urgent. So right now is that, for example, I grow most of my acro, but all my LPS, most of 99% LPS are from other growers, other reefers. Basically, it's like a trading network in Boston area. People bring their coral in, then it keep rotating. So that actually, I also encourage people to trade back their coral. When they bought a frag from me this big, after 1 year become a continent that big, I encourage them to trade it back. So many corals just come home like this. I think this is more like a grassroots of aquaculture effort by everybody involved in the community. Yeah. So I think the local fish store can be a hub for this kind of operation. So eventually we'll be able to self-sustain to a certain extent in case some law pass. Then we cannot even bring the coral cross state line. That is actually very scary for coral farm that's selling online. Really scary.
Sure.
Yeah. I think, Chris, you mentioned maintenance accounts, and Dong, you had a question about this. How much do you guys lean on maintenance accounts? For your business?
We're probably now, when we started the business, it was fully maintenance. That's what we did. And then it kind of, as we got this facility to support that maintenance company, then we started going, hey, we have people coming in and sell them a couple corals. And then it kind of snowballed that way. But we're probably 60% of our sales are through the retail store, and then 40% is maintenance. And I'm not trying to just grab, we're very selective in the maintenance accounts that we pick up. I always think that when I go and give a consultation of a possible new customer, I'm interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me, and so we're just very selective, because otherwise you get into, expectations and different things. But so probably 60% is the retail store, and 40% is maintenance.
I only service tanks that I set up if I didn't set it up, I don't service it. I want to start everything from fresh and do it with the method that I like. That's
the all-in
super
method.
low maintenance, yeah, and simple and less failure points, as little failure points as possible. Once again, less equipment is better.
Yep.
So how about Kenny?
I actually don't do maintenance. So many friends of mine are like, dude, you need to do maintenance just like to bring in, more like residual income. But I just don't have the time, man. It took me a while to find my work-life balance here in general. After a year or two of having the store, I took my last tank down at home. I have no more tanks at home. I don't want to get off work and go clean tanks. I don't want to get off on my days off, go clean tanks. And I'm sure it helped financially. I'm check to check, but I enjoy what I do and my work-life balance is cool. So, maybe down the road when I have employees or a employee, I can, kind of jump into that aspect. And like Ali said, man, I'll probably just pick and choose and do what I want to do from the start and not kind of jump into like other builds.
I mean, yeah, Kenny and I are really small-time fish stores. We're one-man operations. Chris is a little bit bigger, but he's still a mom and pop fish store. Maybe one of these days you should have another one of these with bigger LFS owners, like Worldwide, TSA, and just to get different perspective. That might be interesting.
Yeah. No, I think that's the plan, is to have some of the. It's more of a show about having some of the bigger online coral vendor retailer types on to talk about how they do business in terms of growing corals, selling corals online, and how they like to run tanks and all that stuff. But that is a great point there, Ollie, in terms of like how those kind of businesses run. I was going to say, Chris, man, you should provide the blueprint to these guys if they wanted to try to expand from their single owner proprietorship businesses there.
Chris,
what's the secret, man, in getting them a couple of helping hands?
Do you see any hair? It's gone.
No hair either.
Yeah, me too.
No, the hardest part is finding the right accounts, but I'm sorry, the hardest part is finding employees that you trust. You send them out in a van, and then they're going to change the media in a calcium reactor. Is it leaking? The insurance involved. It's very difficult to do, and so you have to find the right employees to be able to do that. And all employees have to be hobbyists. They have to see, you walk into a tank and you look and you go, that bubble tip anemone is not looking good. Why? Where you just can't hire somebody and teach them those things, especially in the maintenance. It's very difficult to do that. Now, I started on the maintenance side and grew into the retail, so it's easier for me, to manage that because I've done it longer. But yeah, but it is nice at times, you can get a really good account with a great owner, that's like, do whatever you need to. I want it to look good. And, it's a lot of fun to do that with the right owner.
Those are wonderful customers, because they're so into it. And, those are the ones you want for sure.
Like if they allow you your creativity, like I want to let my creativity explode at all times. You know what I mean? If they get free random creativity, they're going to have a kick-ass tank.
So there's one customer. That's a real life story. And so I do not do maintenance, but I do consultation. I drive over to look at the tank, but I don't do water change. That's very clear. No water change, no lifting, nothing. So the guy actually very rich.
You don't bring your magic water with you?
No, too heavy. No. so then the guy pointed out his outdoor pond. That, can you turn that salt water from me? I said, that's a little bit too much.
In the Northeast, for crying out loud?
Yeah, Boston. Yeah, in Newton. That's right next to Cambridge. Yeah, can you turn that saltwater pond into salt water? I said, probably that's gonna cost you a lot of money to heat it in the winter time. There's another guy, even more interesting. his plan, he actually has a business plan. So he come to talk to me to see if that business plan works. He want to start an aquarium which allow people to dive into the aquarium to collect their own coral. In Boston area.
That's cool.
Like, yeah, that's cool.
I like to see that.
Yes, right. Then I ask him.
Maybe
well,
Andrew will open people up to come to his house, dive into their tanks for some coral.
Exactly. So then I ask him, how do you prevent people to urinate in the tank? They said, oh yeah, right. That is a very big problem.
Corals consume ammonia as a food source.
Oh yeah, probably from fish, right?
Yeah.
There's too much of those from human, especially like the public swimming pool, right? It's not just one person doing it.
Yeah.
Well, isn't Rich Ross an advocate of pissing in the tank?
Dick Perrin was.
One
I know
person.
Dick Perrin was. What's funny is Dick Perrin's grandson, shout out David, he comes to my shop and he's really, really nice kid. But Dick Perrin's grandson, yeah, she's actually my customer. But yeah, Dick Perrin was a fan of doing that with his giant clams.
Nice. So let me ask you guys. So I think a big theme that we've gotten from tonight is that you guys that run these local fish stores are a resource because you can mentor and tutor and provide advice to people that are just getting in the hobby or maybe struggling with certain things. So you can kind of provide that one-on-one experience. I know, Kenny, you do these one-off lectures here and there, like a lecture series and stuff like that. In addition to that stuff, have you guys anything else going on in terms of trying to promote education in the reef keeping hobby besides kind of like the one-on-one stuff and what you're doing, Kenny, with the lectures?
I mean, like in this hobby, I think first and foremost, education is the most valuable source that new reefers could get. Or seasoned, like Chris always says, man, like never an expert, always learning. Like I'm learning stuff every day, even from customers like that haven't been reefing that long will tell me something. I go, shit, I never knew that. Like the more you open up yourself for, receiving information, better reefer you're going to be. But yeah, the cocktail and coral talks events that I do, the last one I did was with, I had Charles Delbig here, and he did phosphate and nitrate comparison for molar ratio, which he got a lot of that information in that talk he did here, man, was insane. It put a lot of perspective on, what you could do as far as nutrients and, certain and what ratios of nutrients feed certain things like cyano and phytoplankton and stuff like that. And that's up on my YouTube channel. So I try to do these educational events where I have these speakers come in. They all get filmed and edited by my buddy Schmitty, who's actually the head videographer for Thrasher Skateboard Magazine. And they all get put up on my YouTube channel. I do little tutorial videos as well. It's just education is so important. At the next Reefapalooza that's happening in Anaheim, I'm trying to get Julian Sprung up here after because he's going to be up here visiting Charles after that show. So hopefully we'll see if I can get him up here for that one. It'd be awesome to have him and Charles do it up here.
Yeah.
The two godfathers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it go ahead. Ali, were you going to say something?
No, I haven't done anything. I think that's awesome, Kenny. I haven't figured out, an avenue to do that. So I'll have to get on your YouTube and just see, because I think it'd be great to the more information from the more people, that you can get, right. And it just helps everybody out.
And the community, I do these things, they're in-person events. So I open them up to 30 people on Eventbrite. It's free, but I do take donations to keep it going. But I have a keg of beer, red wine, white wine, different types of scotches and whiskeys. And
dude, I'd be all over that.
big spread of food. So a bunch of reefers come here. You got about an hour of mingling time, hour and a half of mingling time, having a few drinks, and then you watch the presentation. More mingle time afterwards. Everyone gets together. It's pretty awesome. It's almost like a mini show. It's really fun.
We used
Do you
to
sell
have
tickets?
club meetings at my shop from Southern California Marine Aquarium Society, where Greg's the president. At my old shop, we used to do that sometimes, which was really fun, But honestly, when you're talking to customers all day long, you kind of get tired. You only have so much energy. And then at the end of the day, I just want to go relax. But, occasionally doing something like that would be cool again. Greg, if you're listening, maybe we should do something like that again at the shop. Some
Yeah,
type
I do a lot
club
of my
group
local,
thing.
I do a lot of events for my local club, man. That's another thing that's important. I have my local club's business cards on the counter. I give them out to new hobbyists, and I give supporting members 10% off on all livestock, because I think clubs are really important. Mine is Bay Area Reefers, and I've been a member for about 18 years. Rich Ross was the first president. Rich Ross lives like 20 minutes from me, so he comes up here a lot. Reef clubs are important, man. I think they're, I do a lot of events here. We do like fragging workshops and stuff like that. Like, same deal, man. Just having a space where you can bring people together from the reefing community in your area is awesome. I think so. It's fun.
Kenny, for your YouTube channel, I watch every episode you post on your YouTube channel. I have one suggestion. You need more. I've been watching you rerun now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Once I started doing the online store, I had a lot of focus going into that, because doing all that stuff doesn't make me money. So getting the online store was really important to keep the shop going. But
It's a lot of freaking work, man.
Now I'll jump back into more videos, man.
It's a lot of work, and videos are a lot of work too. But if you can at least videotape the lectures, that's hopefully not too much editing and whatnot that your buddy has to do. Great beer.
Next time, ask Richard Ross to juggle.
Juggle. Yeah.
Juggle, yeah. He's a good juggler.
Then he'll never leave.
Yeah. Paul, Great Beer to Reef. What's happening, man? Hopefully you're feeling better. He says he agrees on the Reef Clubs. Paul's the president of Boston Reefers Society, and those guys do an awesome job. Both Dong and I are supporting vendors and members of the Boston Reef Society. So very educational stuff when you have club meetings and get-togethers, frag swaps. I love the frag swaps, man. That's so much fun. I mean, it just gets very localized, and you just kind of see all your friends. And back in the day when you used to be able to actually swap frags, trade frags, versus buying, that was cool. Love to see come full circle back to that stuff. One other thing I think we wanted to touch on is, Dong, I know you were wondering about this, but the state of the shipping industry, how is that impacting your business? I know, Kenny, you're shipping fish now online, but it also impacts in terms of the prices of corals, and I guess we're talking about the future of imports and all that sort of thing. But I guess there's a lot of uncertainties there, right?
Mm-hmm. So I stopped shipping right now. It's just so unreliable. UPS and FedEx, oh my God, it's like tossing a dice. So one shipment arrived perfectly, then the next one is totally dead. Looks like they X-rated package or some sort. Yeah, is that possibility? Seriously? I'm thinking about it. So do they randomly X-ray package? Just no reason.
Yeah.
Whenever I drop fish off at the UPS place or my driver comes picks it up, all I can think about is the opening scene in Ace Ventura when he's kicking the box everywhere and stuff. I'm like, can you imagine? Can you imagine if that was a fish or a coral?
And also that it's impossible to recover anything if the package is missing. Well, there's no insurance. Even if you pay for it, there's no insurance whatsoever.
It is a struggle. I mean, I've had my battles, when I used to ship frags online, and I stopped doing that because it was just, being in a rural area and having a much more sketchy delivery, chain, it was just it was tough for me. But yeah, in terms of like trying to like file claims and actually collect on those claims, it was like a part-time job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of unknowns in terms of the state of the shipping industry and the impact on
I think that actually bring out the importance of the local fish store. Seriously, is online for fish for coral. Actually, buying coral for online is really well. That's the information I get from my customers. Most likely, you're gonna get something that doesn't even resemble what's on the computer screen. That's the major complaint that I gather. So that's why people prefer to actually see the coral before they buy. The second thing is the price. The price is insane online. So if I was going there to buy coral as a retail customer, it's really hard to swallow the extremely high price that currently happening on the online. For example, that I have this rainbow hammer from one major vendor online, and they grow like wildfire. I probably have 1,000 of them, as 1,000 heads sitting there. I use them as a refugium now. So those things they charge $80 a head online. I cannot even move them at $5 a head. So, yeah, that is. Yeah,
Greg says the price is high because there is no such thing as free shipping.
That's
true.
Exactly. Yep. The lost from.
I was like,
yeah.
when I stopped shipping corals, I was getting up to like charging $100 to ship frags, and you'd have to spend over $400 or something like that to get free shipping. I was just kind of like, I don't want to ship anymore. I'm going to charge $100, and I was still like losing money because it was costing me $150 to ship a box of frags to California or something like that.
Yeah, because you crossed the middle line, so then all the price just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Plus,
I don't ship, but I ship I don't ship just because it's too expensive and I don't do it. But just as a favor, I shipped Julian some stuff a couple months ago, and we used his account, his FedEx account, and it was like a decent medium-sized box. It was like 240 something bucks that got charged to his account, and I felt bad for Julian. He had to pay for it, but still, like, oh my god, I don't know how. I'm sure, if you deal with volume, you're getting some crazy better pricing, but it's gone up a lot.
Yeah. And the reliability go down a lot.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah,
that is the problem. All right, we're gonna wrap up with one last question. I want to thank Alex C for the super chat. And the question from Alex is: has anyone dosed urea and saw faster coral growth or color compared to ammonia or nitrate? Any thoughts on that? Any urea dosers out there?
I just feed my fish, man. I ain't dosing much in there. Just feeding the fish.
You're not dosing diddly squat there, Ali. You're just feeding your fish and.
Not dosing anything besides B-ionic. I have Kalkwasser in my as my freshwater top off, and that's dosed with the Versa pump. And I do like the on my stony coral tank the Tropic Marin A and K. And I just do a little bit of that, but very little bit of dosing. I'm not, if I had one tank at my house and it was ICP tested, sure, I might do all the different traces, but I get really good results with just the that simple way of doing it. Really nice color on acros, and just keeping it as simple as I can and as easy as I can. That's the thing. I want to keep this as easy as I can because there's a lot of tanks here. But sure, if somebody had just one tank at their house and they could focus on that one tank and do all these cool different methods, sure, it's part of the hobby. Have fun with it. But I have to do it as easy as I can and as simple as I can here. So yeah, not much for dosing extra, too much extra.
I dose the Captivate trace elements on everything here, and that shit's easy to dose.
Cool.
It's easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Get to make a cocktail.
We use A&K.
So easy.
I like A&K. It's a balance between ease of use, and we're here every day, so it's very easy to use. But maybe one day I'll get it a little bit more in depth. But we do use ammonia bicarb, and then we put urea in it as well. Mix it together from Salem's old. And funny, I order it all in, and then we were having low nitrates. Probably need to add some more fish. And then as soon as we got it in and I mixed it up and I had it in, all ready, nitrates went up. So I haven't dosed it for a long time because I don't dose it because I don't need it, because we balanced out our feeding. And but we have it. We do use it. But I can't tell you, it really worked, because I haven't dosed it long enough to figure it out. But the daily dosing of trace elements has been a really good game changer. I used to do it once a week, and if you split it out and you do it every day, if you can, put it on a doser. When you feed your fish, you just grab the bottle or whatever it is. That has made a huge difference for us.
Yeah, I agree. Trace element dosing is something that I started doing maybe like
the daily hitting that daily consumption rate, man.
Yeah, that makes a difference. I agree. Well, listen,
guys.
What?
What makes the most difference is I just want to say it real quick. PSA: check all your magnets, all your impellers. It's so important, because I gotta keep saying it, and people just check everything that you have that has a magnet. A lot of the pumps these days, the plastic on them is really, not as good as before. The seal on stuff is not as good, and a lot of people are citric aciding and vinegaring their stuff, so it weakens it even more. So a lot of people have these weird issues in their tank, and they don't know what it is. And sometimes it's a magnet, and it's just check even your expensive pumps. Check all the magnets that you have, probe holders, frag racks, whatever. But pumps too, check them all. Check every magnet. It's super, super important.
And I'm going to say one other thing that I would recommend too is that I don't mean to cut you off there, Ali. Get a monthly ICP test. Spend the money, spend the $40 or whatever, because then you'll see it. If you're getting those heavy metals or whatnot, it's going to show up on the ICP.
Read more books.
Read more books.
Yep. Books.
Yeah.
Honestly,
And in terms of the magnet, I have one thing to add. Check your MP40 and MP10 west side. Check
also,
it.
the Neuros. Check the Neuros too. And any pump. Check any pump. It doesn't matter the brand. But I will give a big shout out to Tunzi. Their stuff is insane. The way they seal their magnets. Tunzi's just in a class of its own. So I'm at the shop. I'm just going to Tunzi on almost everything now, just because I could trust it. It's Tunzi for me. That's the way to go for me.
And what they're talking about is on that wet side, there's the magnet underneath that has the little shaft that spins that propeller. And that magnet you can't see unless you really take that top piece of that where the
you gotta pop it off.
You gotta pop that off to
expose it. You gotta see the actual.
Be running fine, and that magnet could be completely exposed, corroding, sending all kinds of weird corrosion metals and rust into your system. You don't even know.
Yep,
absolutely.
So when you're doing maintenance, just pop that thing off and make sure you look at those things, man.
Yeah,
I've seen it way too many times.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, guys. Dong and I really want to thank you for taking the time to chat with us tonight. This was an awesome conversation. Appreciate all of you guys, and all what you guys do is so important to what we love to do in terms of keeping reef tanks. And the more that people can support their local fish store, support you guys, the better we're going to be off in the long term in this hobby. I mean, I could just say that without a doubt that we need you guys to have a strong presence in the hobby. So thanks for what you guys do. I mean, you are all you're really good at what you do, and
you're important for this hobby too. And we're glad.
Absolutely,
to have you back.
Keith. You're very important.
We're
Keep doing these podcasts. You don't have to do these every week, but just keep doing them.
Well, this is once a month. We're doing
whenever.
it once a month. We're
Just,
doing it
just
once a month.
whenever. Just keep it going.
Yeah, and don't scare us by saying you're stopping again. So just don't do that again.
Well, I appreciate that, Chris. That's that's another thing is like there is some good information on YouTube. There is some good information. There's some not so good information.
But you gotta have a filter.
Yeah.
You gotta filter through it all.
Yeah. You gotta kind of like you gotta watch a lot of stuff and things will string together. There'll be some themes of quality stuff and you'll know the bullshit. So anyway, so check these guys out. Kenny at High Tide Aquatics in Oakland, California. Go visit him. Go visit Ali at Amazing Aquariums and Reef in Orange, California, and Cris Capp at Aquatic Art in Highlands Ranch in Colorado. Check them out. I've been to Chris's store, really cool. I gotta get to your store, Ali, and I gotta get to your store there, Kenny.
Well, you can hit both of our stores because we're on the same. We're both in Cali, so.
Absolutely. That's next time I'm out there. I gotta.
Hey, I just want to say one thing. The best part about owning a shop has really been just like all the cool people I've met in this hobby. You guys, just your customers that become, they become like family and really good friends. That's really the best part.
Yeah.
And it's just, I've met so many wonderful people. A few dickheads, but mainly, but very little. It's like 99% just really, really good people. So that's been the best part.
It's a great point. I spent years in restaurant business. Everybody that walks in here is coming in for a positive experience. Most of the time, we can fix problems, but they're here because it's their hobby. It's fun. So that's a good point. We have the same thing. It's just fun. And it's our hobby. We love talking about this stuff. We love it. We can do it all day. Mm-hmm. We can go another couple hours, Keith.
Yeah. No, I know. If we had Mickley on it, we'd be doing a 12-hour show probably.
Good. That's
Well, listen, thanks again, guys. I also want to thank our sponsors one more time. Polo Reef. Make sure to check out Polo Reef's latest YouTube video from a giant clam delivery with acclimation and care tips, custom GFO sediment filters, and a 1/2-ton mystery tank that arrives at Polo Reef and has the team buzzing. Make sure to subscribe to their YouTube channel at Polo Reef for video drop notifications. Flow is very important for keeping corals happy in a reef. Growing corals can block flow from wave makers and create dead spots. That's about to change. The ocean sea wave will oscillate any wave maker or power head in your aquarium from 0 to 180 degrees at an adjustable speed. This creates natural dynamic flow patterns, reduces dead spots, and kicks up detritus. The ocean sea wave is available exclusively through Champion Lighting and Supply. Visit championlighting.com for more information. I did see the demonstration by Mr. Meckley at Restock, and I know he uses it in his systems and he loves it. But anyway, visit championlighting.com for more information. ReefnBid. ReefnBid will be at Reefapalooza in New York, booth number 317. Check them out. Come visit the team behind the scenes, and don't miss the live auction featuring Reefapalooza exclusive goodies. The only way to participate and win is to attend the show. Big thank you to Paul, who is the moderator as well as the president of the Boston Reefer Society. Please join and support your local reefing clubs. They are so important to this hobby. Also want to let you know that all episodes of Rappin With ReefBum are available as podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Amazon. The next Rappin With ReefBum live stream will be on Tuesday, July 15th. It's the third Tuesday of every month. Our guests will be Kevin Berta from Top Shelf Aquatics and Dr. Alex J. Hall, who is an aquatic veterinarian. We're going to be discussing and identifying and managing and preventing coral pests. So it's going to be a show about managing and identifying coral pests. Should be pretty cool. So until next time, be safe and be well, and later.
Thank you.